What happens when a late-night joke crosses the line? When a child is thrust into the spotlight, sparking a battle between comedy and accountability. This is the story of Barron Trump, a quiet teenager who became the center of a nationwide storm, and his mother, Melania Trump, who took on the media to protect her son. But what started as a single joke turned into a cultural reckoning, raising questions about the power of words, the limits of free speech, and the responsibility we all share. Stay with me as we uncover the twists and turns of this gripping trial that changed everything. The evening started like any other in the world of late-night television. At a studio in Burbank, California, the audience laughed along with the host, renowned for his sharp wit and politically charged humor. But in an unexpected turn, he aimed a joke at Barron Trump, the youngest son of the then-president and First Lady, Melania Trump. The joke, quick and biting, was unmistakably directed at the teenager. The reaction from the audience was mixed. Some chuckled hesitantly, while others shifted uncomfortably. This was no light-hearted quip. It was a pointed jab at a child who had largely stayed out of the public eye. Within hours, the moment went viral. Social media exploded with hashtags like #Barron Trump trending on platforms like Twitter and Instagram. Timelines flooded with memes and heated debates, with some calling the joke tasteless and others dismissing it as harmless comedy. News outlets jumped on the controversy, dissecting the situation and reigniting discussions about the limits of humor. In Palm Beach, Melania Trump watched the clip in disbelief. She had always prioritized shielding her son from the chaos of public life. For her, the insult wasn't just an attack on Barron, it was a personal blow as a mother. Driven by her protective instincts, she began drafting a response to address the incident. But this time words alone wouldn't suffice. As public outrage mounted, Melania made a bold decision that would shock the media world. She would take legal action. Unaware of the storm this move would unleash, she moved forward with determination. The next morning, her team released a statement to the press, denouncing the host's comments as inappropriate and harmful. While the statement resonated with many of her supporters, it wasn't enough to quell the growing controversy. The stage was set for a battle that would extend far beyond a single joke. "Protecting our kids should never be a question," read one viral post, accompanied by a photo of Barron Trump during his father's presidency. This sentiment resonated with many, but it wasn't without opposition. Comedians and talk show hosts rallied behind their embattled peer, arguing that Melania's lawsuit threatened creative freedom. They claimed public figures and their families were fair targets for satire, regardless of age. "If you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be in the public eye," declared one prominent host during a fiery on-air debate. The controversy extended far beyond television screens. It became a topic of heated discussion in coffee shops, workplaces, and dinner tables across America. In Los Angeles, college students debated the ethics of free speech at campus rallies. Meanwhile, in a small diner in Topeka, Kansas, retirees questioned whether the host had crossed the line. This wasn't just about Melania and Barron anymore. It was about what society deemed acceptable under the guise of entertainment. The late-night host, however, remained defiant. His monologues took a sharper tone as he painted himself as a victim of censorship. While his supporters cheered, critics noted that his humor had lost its charm, replaced by bitterness. Behind the scenes, network executives faced mounting pressure. Ratings for the show began to dip, and whispers of waning support for the host grew louder. Meanwhile, Melania's legal team pressed on, filing additional evidence and statements to fortify their case. What had started as a personal fight for her son's dignity had become a battle over societal values. The legal struggle wasn't just about a joke anymore. It was shaping up to be a defining moment in cultural discourse. Then came the bombshell, a revelation so significant it threatened to alter the trajectory of the lawsuit entirely. When the trial began at Los Angeles Superior Court, it transformed into a full-blown media circus. Paparazzi swarmed the courthouse steps as Melania Trump arrived, poised and elegant, flanked by her formidable legal team. The stage was set for a showdown that no one could ignore, a battle between comedy and accountability that would "Our kids should never be a question," read one viral post, accompanied by a photo of Barron Trump during his father's presidency. This sentiment resonated with many, but it wasn't without opposition. Comedians and talk show hosts rallied behind their embattled peer, arguing that Melania's lawsuit threatened creative freedom. They claimed public figures and their families were fair targets for satire, regardless of age. "If you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be in the public eye," declared one prominent host during a fiery on-air debate. The controversy extended far beyond television screens. It became a topic of heated discussion in coffee shops, workplaces, and dinner tables across America. In Los Angeles, college students debated the ethics of free speech at campus rallies. Meanwhile, in a small diner in Topeka, Kansas, retirees questioned whether the host had crossed the line. This wasn't just about Melania and Barron anymore. It was about what society deemed acceptable under the guise of entertainment. The late-night host, however, remained defiant. His monologues took a sharper tone as he painted himself as a victim of censorship. While his supporters cheered, critics noted that his humor had lost its charm, replaced by bitterness. Behind the scenes, network executives faced mounting pressure. Ratings for the show began to dip, and whispers of waning support for the host grew louder. Meanwhile, Melania's legal team pressed on, filing additional evidence and statements to fortify their case. What had started as a personal fight for her son's dignity had become a battle over societal values. The legal struggle wasn't just about a joke anymore. It was shaping up to be a defining moment in cultural discourse. Then came the bombshell, a revelation so significant it threatened to alter the trajectory of the lawsuit entirely. When the trial began at Los Angeles Superior Court, it transformed into a full-blown media circus. Paparazzi swarmed the courthouse steps as Melania Trump arrived, poised and elegant, flanked by her formidable legal team. The stage was set for a showdown that no one could ignore, a battle between comedy and accountability that would leave an indelible mark on the cultural landscape. On the other side of the courtroom, the late-night host entered with his legal team, his face set with determination. The atmosphere inside buzzed with anticipation. This wasn't just a trial. It was a referendum on the boundaries of modern entertainment. The prosecution began with a powerful opening argument, drawing a clear distinction between comedy and cruelty. They played the clip of the offensive joke for the courtroom, the laughter from the studio audience echoing eerily in the otherwise silent chamber. Melania's lawyer described how the comment had deeply affected Barron, portraying him as a teenager unfairly caught in the media's relentless spotlight. "This is not about free speech," she stated firmly. "This is about a child's right to grow up without being ridiculed for sport." The defense, however, leaned heavily on the First Amendment, arguing that comedy, no matter how offensive, deserved protection. They cited decades of legal precedent, framing the host as a misunderstood artist who pushed boundaries. When the host himself took the stand, he delivered an impassioned defense of his career, warning that the lawsuit could stifle creative expression. The courtroom became a theater of ideological conflict. Melania's team called on Barron's former teachers, who testified about his quiet nature and how the media attention had disrupted his schooling. The defense countered with comedians who passionately argued that satire was essential to societal commentary. Public interest in the case soared. Every detail, from Melania's composed demeanor to the host's fiery statements, was dissected and debated across social media and news platforms. Late-night shows across the country avoided any mention of the trial, fearing they might become the next targets of public outrage. Just as the trial appeared to be settling into a predictable rhythm, an unexpected twist changed everything. On what seemed like an otherwise routine day in court, the atmosphere shifted dramatically when the prosecution announced a surprise witness. The revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom and the media, threatening to redefine the case and reshape the public's perception of the battle unfolding before them. The defense team exchanged uneasy glances as William Carter, a former production assistant for the network airing the late-night show, entered the courtroom. Carter had worked on the show for over 5 years before his controversial dismissal. Calm yet resolute, he was sworn in, and the tension in the room grew palpable as he began to speak. Carter described the behind-the-scenes culture of the show as one where pushing boundaries often overshadowed ethical considerations. But it wasn't his general observations that shocked the courtroom. It was the specific evidence he brought forward. From his briefcase, Carter revealed emails, scripts, and internal communications that exposed a far more damaging truth. The joke about Barron Trump, he testified, wasn't an off-the-cuff remark. It had been carefully planned, debated, and approved by senior executives at the network. Worse still, some of the correspondents suggested the joke wasn't designed for humor, but to provoke outrage and boost ratings. Gasps echoed through the courtroom as the documents were displayed on a screen. One particularly incriminating email from an executive read, "It'll get people talking." Controversy sells. For the first time, the focus of the trial shifted from the host to the corporate machinery that had enabled and encouraged the incident. The defense scrambled to recover, arguing that the host had acted independently and that the network's actions were irrelevant to the case. But the damage was done. Carter's testimony cast doubt not only on the joke itself, but on the motives behind it, painting a picture of calculated exploitation. Outside the courthouse, the revelation sent shockwaves through the media industry. Headlines blared accusations of a toxic culture within the network, and several executives were placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. The host, once celebrated as a bold voice in comedy, now found himself isolated, with even his employers unwilling to back him. Despite the dramatic shift in momentum toward Melania's case, the battle was far from over. The trial had evolved into a broader indictment of the entertainment industry's ethics, and its outcome would have implications far beyond the courtroom. The final verdict carried consequences no one could have predicted. As the trial neared its conclusion, the courtroom overflowed with journalists ready to capture every detail. Outside, crowds gathered, divided between supporters of Melania Trump and advocates for the late-night host. The stakes were monumental, especially after William Carter's bombshell testimony, which had tilted public opinion dramatically. In her closing argument, Melania's lawyer delivered a poignant plea. She spoke not just for her client, but for all families unwillingly thrust into the public eye. "This isn't about silencing comedy," she declared, her voice unwavering. "This is about accountability. It's about recognizing that our words, amplified to millions, have real consequences." The defense, though battered, made one last impassioned appeal. They cautioned that a ruling against the host could stifle creativity, asking, "Where do we draw the line? At what point does protecting feelings infringe upon the freedom to challenge and provoke?" After hours of tense deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict. The host was found liable for defamation, and the network was ordered to pay substantial damages for fostering a culture of sensationalism. The judge emphasized that the ruling was not an attack on free speech, but a necessary acknowledgement that humor should not come at the expense of a child's dignity. The verdict sent shockwaves through the media landscape. For Melania, it was a bittersweet victory. She had defended her son and won, but the ordeal had taken a heavy emotional toll. In a brief statement to the press, she expressed hope that the case would inspire a more thoughtful approach to public discourse, urging respect and care in a world increasingly driven by sensationalism. The host, however, faced severe fallout. Sponsors withdrew their support, the network distanced itself, and his show was placed on indefinite hiatus. Meanwhile, the case ignited crucial conversations across the country. People debated the boundaries of comedy, the responsibilities of public figures, and the ethics of media sensationalism. While the verdict marked the end of the trial, it was also the beginning of a broader cultural reckoning, a reminder that even in entertainment, accountability matters. In the weeks following the verdict, the entertainment industry and society at large began to take a hard look at itself. New initiatives were launched to address the toxic culture in entertainment. Comedians revisited their material, networks introduced stricter oversight, and audiences started to reflect on what content they chose to support. A powerful lesson emerged. While free speech is a right, respect and empathy are responsibilities we all share. As the dust settled, the nation found itself grappling with the deeper questions raised by the trial. Conversations moved beyond the specifics of Barron and Melania Trump to broader cultural questions. Where do we draw the line between harm? How do we balance the right to free speech with the need for accountability? For parents, Melania's fight became a call to action. It reminded them of the importance of defending their children in an increasingly digital and unforgiving world. One mother from Des Moines captured the sentiment perfectly in a viral video. If someone with Melania Trump's platform faces this struggle, what hope do the rest of us have? This trial wasn't just about Barron, it was about all of our kids. For the entertainment world, the verdict served as a wake-up call. Networks and production companies reevaluated their approach to comedy, acknowledging that cheap shots and controversy-driven content came at a high cost. A renewed focus emerged on crafting humor that challenges norms without demeaning individuals. The trial also left a lasting impact on everyday conversations. Across classrooms, workplaces, and homes, people began to discuss the weight of their words. The case became a cultural milestone, reminding us that humor has the power to unite, but also the potential to divide. The responsibility to use that power wisely rests with each of us. As the cameras turned off and the world moved forward, one message endured. Compassion must always come first. The trial may have ended, but the lessons it left behind are more relevant than ever. It's up to all of us to ensure that our words build bridges, not walls, and that we challenge one another with respect, not cruelty. Let this story inspire us to continue these conversations. Together, we can create a world where laughter and disagreement coexist without tearing each other down. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more stories that challenge the way we see the world.